Welcome to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Injective Protocol. This is going to be a lower time frame video. We do have a higher time frame video up above, so check that out if that's more what you're interested in. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. I'm going to go over the two bullish ways that we're looking at this move, and then we're going to go over that bearish potential that we need to be on the lookout for here. There is potential here that we could have had this as 1, 2. Actually, this is a third wave, a fourth wave, and a fifth wave, where we've had an extension within this wave 1. Now, it is also possible this could be 1, 2, 1, 2, in which case we might actually see a deeper retracement playing out here. Now, looking at this in this way, we can see that we've come down into this yellow target box area. Invalidation of this comes by actually crossing this zone of this $4.58. What we need to be careful of here is there is always the potential that this could just be a C wave and we actually look to break down deeper. We're going to go over that in a second. But effectively, this way of looking at this count is actually treating this as a third wave into this high. This is a fourth wave into here, and then looking for this fifth wave to the upside. So if we're looking for this possibility of this fifth wave to the upside here, what we'd be saying is that we're looking for this to actually extend up and find 5-wave move to the upside. Now, our target zone for this would be this 1303 to this 1057. Another target would be this 0.382 here at this 12036. So this would be looking at this just as a fifth wave here. And if this starts to extend up higher, then potentially we could have an extension within the waves here where we're looking at that 1, 2. We'll go over that in a second. So if we are looking at this in this way, effectively what we're saying is that from this point here, we could have this fifth wave in play. Now, if we are looking at something like that, what we could actually have is something along these lines. And I'm actually going to come in here a bit closer on the smaller time frame. And what I'm looking for here is that we could potentially have this as 1, 2, 1, 2 here. This becomes a 3, 4, and a 5. And then we're actually looking for a fourth and a fifth. Now, we've already come into this yellow target box here that we have, which is this 877 to this 756 level. And within this, what we do have is a couple of levels that I have marked up here. So we've already taken this lower naked point of control, which is sitting towards us 763. And what I'm looking for here is we do have one slightly above us towards us 788. So if we do see price push up here one more time, potentially we could look to target out that area. Alternatively, if we do look to extend up even higher, we do have this monthly naked point of control sitting up here towards this 876 region. So this would be quite interesting because this would actually push us back up into the top of this channel potentially and would align with the idea of having this fifth wave still to come here. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Now, it is possible that this move is actually completed here, where this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and actually we are looking for this fourth wave. Now, if this is the case, what we'd be looking for would be holding this zone of this 652, and we'd want to see a 3-wave move develop to the downside here. So the lower end of this would be this 7, or the higher end of this rather would be the 717, and then if we were looking for that key zone lower down here would be the 652. I wouldn't like to see this actually come much lower than the 652 area, because if we start to break down like that, it becomes more likely that we are actually following one of the other counts. Now, within this, if this is the case and we do have this as an additional fourth and a fifth here, I want to find support in this area. The central channel line is going to be important. It would be also a retest of these lows, 0.382 at this $6.80, and then obviously this is quite an important horizontal level. So if we do see price move up here into this fifth wave target box, obviously we do have these highs on the left hand side here to keep an eye on, as well as that we do have this potential of moving up into the channel. So what I want to see now is if we do see price start to retrace in a bigger way here, A, B, and C, something like this, or it could become more complex and we could see something more like this where it takes a bit more time, but effectively this would be the target area we're looking for. After that, it's going to be key what happens. If we do get a 5-wave move to the upside like this, what we could actually get is a 3-wave move down, in which case this could actually then form an A, a B, and then we look for a C to the upside, or alternatively 1, 2, and then 3 to the upside. So that would be looking for the potential of extending up, looking to push this move up higher and possibly into that higher target box that we were talking about, where we're looking for that fifth wave up here. So what we'd be looking for effectively would be something like this to form wave 1, come back down for wave 2, get a wave 3 up, 4, and 5, which would align with coming into this higher zone. Now, we also need to just be on the lookout, because it is possible that we could look at this move slightly different, still in a bullish way, where we'd be arguing that this could actually be 1, 2 here, and this could be another 1, 2. Now, the key difference with this is that provided we hold this low here, which is currently sitting at this $5.40. If we do see a move like this where this becomes 1-2, we need to be on the lookout that this doesn't actually extend up higher here and actually look to target this zone of this 46.90. This would actually be indicating that we're getting some extreme extension within these waves, which could mean that we see price actually push up towards this $80 region to this $57 region, provided that we get this 1.618, then get a 3-wave move down, and then get that additional 5th up. Now within this case, effectively what we would be saying here is that we have an additional 4th and 5th still to come, and we'd be looking to potentially target out this 142 to this $88 level. So this would be looking for that direct push to the upside without having a bigger retracement. If we are following this count, what we'd be expecting is price to move up into some of these higher levels here, and then we'd be looking for retracement back down towards this green target box between this 375 to this 198 level, looking for that continuation up after coming back down into these zones. Now, looking at this move, we could also argue that this is potentially just a corrective structure to the upside here, where we say that this is A, B, and C up here. This is an X wave, and then we have another A, B, C here. So W, X, and Y. And what this is showing us over here is that we've actually come up into the zone here of this 1382. So I'm actually just going to change this to white so it aligns with the color of the wave. We've come up to this 1382 already at the $7.80. This is also a 0.618 of this A wave to the upside, which is the minimum requirement we typically look for a C wave. It has also crossed this high. So this could mean that we actually start to see this fall away here. And this is just a corrective move up, and we could then see continuation to the downside. Now, if we are looking for this to find support again and push up one more time, I would be looking out for the potential of coming up into this 852 as a 1-to-1. The difference with this would then be that potentially this would be just a corrective move up, where we'd be saying this is W, X, and Y. Potentially if we get another 3 waves down, it could be an X and a Z, something like this. But this is our current 1-to-1 of this A wave. So if we do see price actually push up here and we form something like this, possibly we could look to retest that channel like we said, and that would be looking for this as just a corrective move up. Now there were a few ways in the macro video that we were talking about this structure, so these are the shorter term moves that I'm looking at here. But what we were looking for in the macro was that potentially this could actually be a B wave high, and we're actually starting to break down in a bigger way. So this is still not invalidated. This is looking at the potential that from the bearish standpoint, we could have 1-2, 1-2 here, 1-2. This is what I'm saying. We need to be careful that this isn't just a corrective structure where this is W, X, and Y up here, because if we reject from this point here, and we see a bigger sell-off to the downside towards this 387, this could tie in with the idea of actually having a bigger breakdown here, where we would have a series of 1s and 2s here, which would mean that we would get a series of 4s and 5s, which could potentially look to push us down towards this zone of this 275 to this 232 region. And that would be looking to potentially challenge this low here towards this 245 region. So going to be keeping an eye on this, as long as we hold this channel here, potentially even if we do move back down here, we could find support, and it could be a corrective move, one of the ones we're going to go over in a second here. Invalidation of this as a wave 2 comes by crossing this $8.21, and invalidation of this idea of extension comes by actually crossing this 997 level. But now we also need to be cautious, because we can also look at this potentially in a different way, where we argue that this is a diagonal pattern. Now this is valid for as long as we don't cross this wave 2 high here, which is sitting towards this $8.22. And what I would be looking out for here is that potentially we could still have something here like this, where this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, the invalidation of this on a move to the downside would be crossing this 518. We're not allowed to cross that area if we are looking at this as a diagonal. And what we'd want to see here effectively would be a 3-wave move to the downside, which these higher targets here, 786 and 854, could potentially be interesting. Alternatively, finding a double bottom here at this 538 could also be quite an interesting level to keep an eye on. Now, just going over some of these internals again, it's possible that within this we could still see this as ABC, like I said, corrective move to the upside, and we're still looking at this just as a bigger W, and X, and a Y. So until we actually break back above some of these key levels here, particularly this X wave high here, we could actually see this move just continue on down here, looking to target out this 1-to-1, which is currently sitting here at this 519. area. So if we do look to reject down here, possibly we could see just a continuation down in a corrective move, and then we could look to hold this channel, look to retest this zone, and either look to break out of this as that fifth wave, or potentially this becomes that bigger wave 2 and we look for that continuation up. Alternatively, if we fail to break back above this high, it could actually be just a continuation pattern to the downside. So it's going to be very key what happens around this area. You know, we also haven't invalidated the idea of this being a triangle, which is still a possibility. So if we are looking at this as a W, an X, and a Y, as a C wave, this would not be uncommon. Invalidation of this would actually come by crossing this high over here, this $8.21. If we cross that 8.21 level, this would invalidate the idea of a triangle, as well as that if we see any kind of a move to the downside that moves below this B wave, which is sitting at this 538, this could invalidate this too. Now, the reason I'm looking for this is that this could still be that X wave where this is W, we get a X wave as a triangle, and then we see that push to the downside. So the key thing here is going to be getting back above these highs to eliminate that bearish scenario. But really, that bullish one stays alive for as long as we hold above this 538. Now, if this is a triangle, what we'd be anticipating here is seeing a 3-wave move to the downside. So I have two different target areas here. One is based off of the B wave, one is based off of the C wave. So the C wave one is actually looking at this level here now, which is higher up because we've come higher up with the C wave, which would actually be this $6.23 to this $6.15 as a typical zone. Alternatively, we have the 786, which is an alternative target here, which would be this 584. So I would be keeping an eye on this. If we see 3 waves down, then potentially what we could actually see is something along these lines where we actually get a smaller E wave in here as well, looking to come back up, retest some of these levels, and then look for that break to the downside. Alternatively, if it does move to the yellow area, which is down here at this 583 to this 575, potentially what we could then see is that this D wave comes down deeper, we see a bigger E wave here, and then we look for that continuation down. So we need to really invalidate this triangle, because until we do, this is a continuation pattern, could actually be telling us that we are moving down. Now, another thing that we need to be a little bit cautious of here is that in that same idea where this is a W, an X, and a Y, what we could have is that this could be A, this could be B. We could then see this as just a C wave to the upside. Like I said, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get another 4th and a 5th here. This would align with coming back into the top of this channel, where we'd actually be looking for this 1382 potentially as a interesting zone, because it would align with coming back into the channel here. Depending on how long this takes, if we drag out sideways here, potentially this 1236 would be interesting. We have also, however, come up to this 121. So this is a common target for a running flat. So if this is actually going to be a running flat here, we could actually see a rejection from this point and then looking to break down. Now, the key thing with a flat is we only get confirmation that it is a flat once we start to cross this origin of the C wave. If we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like this, we come back down here and we actually cross this point. That confirms that this is not a wave or a wave 1. It means that it is either, it's got to be a C wave, or this is just going to be a corrective move up, and then we're looking for that bearish count where we're going to see that continuation and that bigger sell-off. If we do look to actually come back down here, we do have a support box which is sitting here towards the 621 and the $6 region. Going to be keeping an eye on that. Now, this would align quite nicely with the idea of actually seeing this move extending up here. You know, we do have this 5th wave target sitting towards this 1236. So if this takes a bit of time to play out here, potentially that could be a good target. Alternatively, we could actually see price extend out a little bit here, but I would be keeping an eye on these levels here between this 1236 and this 1618, which would be up here at this 992. Obviously, we do have this swing high over here, which could be quite interesting at this 930. If we do see price actually move up into these zones, that could be something to look out for. As well as that, you know, we need to also be aware there's always the potential that we can get extension within this. And what we would be looking out for within this count is effectively treating this as a 1-2. So this would be saying that within here we could have 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and then we're looking for a much bigger break to the upside. So to actually invalidate this, we need to see price come back down below the 671. Alternatively, If we do actually hold this zone here of this 725 to the 693, and we only see a three-wave move down, A, B, C, what we could then actually see is continuation to the upside, but we'd only get confirmation off of that 0.618, which is the 712, would actually be by pushing up here towards this 918, fourth and a fifth up towards this 974 to this 939 region. If we had to get something like this as an extension, this would align with the idea of this actually extending out in a bigger way. And then what we would have is that this would be our 1, 2, this would all become 3, 4, 5, and then we'd have a series of additional fourths and fifths to the upside. So it's going to be key here if we want to look for bullish continuation. In the direct break to the upside, we need to hold 671. If we are looking at this count, we need to hold this area of this 538. And then, failing to do so means that we are potentially looking for that lower target here, where we could actually be looking to actually come down lower. But really, within the bullish count here, even if we see this as A, B, and we see a C to the downside here, until we actually cross 245, which would be our invalidation, there is the potential that this could actually still be another 1, 2. Now, the only reason I wouldn't like it is because this wave 2 here would have been substantially smaller than the lower degree wave 2, but sometimes these things can happen, so we're going to have to just keep an eye on it. It is also possible this could just become ABC, this becomes a correction, and we still look for some upside to come. So this is going to be our key area within that bullish count. If we're looking for the direct breakout, it's going to be this low here, and then if we're looking for that immediate push to the upside, it's going to be that higher low over there. What we can see here on the daily CPR is that we actually have reclaimed the center line. So with this daily CPR, when we are above the center line, there is potential for us to actually move up to these other pivot points. So we have this 784, we have this 810, we have this area here of this 834 and this 860 range. Now, price can always move through these zones, so we need to just be aware of that. But if we do actually continue to hold this, potentially we could see price get gravitated back to the up here. This S1 would be interesting because we'd be potentially looking to set a double top here. So that could be quite interesting if we are looking to actually just complete this and then look for that push back to the downside. Alternatively, these higher targets might be of interest. If we start to, however, lose this central CPR line, we could see price get attracted to the 734, this 709, this 683, and this 658 are all potential targets. Now, this would align with the idea of coming back down here, looking for that idea of the fourth wave again, where we come back into the channel. So I would be keeping an eye on that. Potentially this could align with coming back into these levels before looking for that push to the upside. Now we're also going to turn on this weekly and have a look at these lines. So we can see here on the weekly, what happened is we actually came into these central CPR lines and we've rallied up to this S1 line. So from here, what I want to see is whether we actually manage to get back above these lines. If we do, we could potentially push towards this S2 at this 837 and this S3 at this 926. Now, if we fail to actually hold this level and we look to break down, I would be keeping an eye on these central CPR lines, which are sitting between this 686 and this lower level of the 666, where we could see price come back down in 3 waves, potentially looking for that fourth wave idea. If we start to blast through this zone though, what we could actually be looking for is potential to come back down here towards this $6.06. This area here of this 516 and this lower range here of this 446. So this would align with that idea of potentially this completing as a flat correction here and then seeing a continuation to the downside. Now moving on to the monthly CPR, what we can see is that we are currently above these central CPR lines. Now we still have the S1, which is sitting here towards this 839 level. So if we do actually look to come back down into this level and hold this, what we could actually find is price could get gravitated directly to the upside here at this 841, this 954, and this higher area here of this 1096. So these could be quite interesting, particularly this S2 line. If we had to see a push up in this way, it could actually mean that we see a retest of some of these swing highs on the left hand side here. So would be interested to see what happens around those levels. As well as that, if we are looking for that potential that this move completes and we actually look for a bigger retracement to the downside, we do have this R1 which is sitting here towards this 583 worth keeping an eye on, the R2 at this 443, and then we have this R3 down here towards this 328. So all different levels I'm going to be keeping an eye on if price starts to move towards them as potential pivot points. So one other thing I want to talk about here is that if we look at this as a local range here, what we can see is that we do have this value area high which is sitting up here towards this $8.40. Once again, this would align with that idea that if we're starting to get something like this, where we get this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, potentially this could look to target out this value area high, which is sitting here towards this 441. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. If we do see price push up here, potentially we could look to retest that level. Alternatively, if we see price come back down here, we do have potential to find support on this 722 at this point of control, in which case we could see that potential continuation. Alternatively, if we do see a deeper retracement, we have this value area low, which is aligning with this little target box. So we've got you at this 621 to the $6 level. So we'd be keeping an eye on those if we do actually start to move down to those zones. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.